I'll spend a little bit of time talking about what sort of content you should feed to your prospect-ready audience. So we talked before about how the big goal here is to create value, not just to sell stuff and hawk stuff to them and be like, buy my stuff. Instead, you're trying to create value to try and create trusted advisors that will want to spend money with you further on down the road. But how do you go about doing this? Well, it goes further than just, filming some videos and sharing some articles and writing some posts, although those things are really important things to do. You need to be figuring out how much personality you want to add into this thing. You need to figure out how much vulnerability you want to be showing into this thing. You might want to be looking about if you want to create debate and discussion between your audience. So you might want to be sitting there going, right, is there anything further that I can do to try and create something that we call a monkey's paw? So like a small bit of business that we can get from them to get them used to buying from us further on down the line. Is there anything that we can do to be able to interact with these people whilst also providing content for people moving forward? Well, yes, there is, and this is all stuff that's worth thinking about. So let's start off with how much personality you might want to show in your content. Now, personally, I've done a bit of a 360 on this over the years. So I started my business when I was quite young. I started my business when I was 24 years old. I'd already ran a business before that, but kind of started Cine Robota then, and that was 8 years ago now. 8 years ago now. I'm 33 upon time of filming, and it was interesting because when I started, I put a lot of personality into the posts that I put out, largely because of the audience that we were prospecting to. We were prospecting to musicians, bands and stuff like that. So there's a lot more personality in that. And I had a lot more kind of range to put that out. But when I moved into the world where I was doing more stuff with companies and businesses, then that approach didn't really work so well. So I actually kind of adjusted that, and I went a little bit more kind of professional, a little bit more stern-faced, which actually I think I overcompensated with that regard. So in recent years, I've actually kind of come back around to the idea of adding a bit more personality back into the way that I do business and the way that I present myself to the outside world. And I think that balance is a thing, because you can't be one way or the other. There has to be a balance as you go. And figuring out how much personality you can add is a really important thing. So what I'm not saying you do here is, I'm not saying that you go and you just post horribly unprofessional things on your professional networks, because that would be obviously a bad thing to do. But I think adding a little bit of personality and talking to people like a human being is a really, really important element of making sure you're doing the social bit in social selling right. So adding a little bit of personality is good. I can't give you a firm, solid answer on whether or not, how much personality you should put in, because that's different for every individual person. And every one of you who's watching this are going to be in a slightly different position, and it's just a balance you're going to have to figure out as you go through. But it's worth being mindful of that balance and understanding that it's something you need to think about. Speaking of balance, showing a bit of vulnerability can also be a really good way of breaking down some of the barriers between you and the people that you're interacting with. So, not being entirely stony-faced all the time, and just kind of saying sometimes, this is a bit of a case of my journey, or this is something that I'm really passionate about, and I want to share with you why. That can be a really powerful thing, because it can help people kind of connect with you on a human level. And ultimately, this connecting thing, very Howard's End here, but only connect. This connecting thing is a really, really important side to this. So showing a bit of vulnerability can be a good way of doing this. Another way, having a bit of debate, creating a bit of debate, I suppose I should say, on your social platforms can be a really powerful thing. So if you post up something, I'm not saying okay, right, don't go and just put something super controversial and then just kind of like sitting there going, nope, this is the hill that I'm going to die on. And then because that's one surefire way of just getting people to just, not like you and delete you and block you and so on and so forth, depending how controversial the thing you're saying is. But, posting up something where there's going to be differing opinions, and then saying, what do you guys think about this? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Can be a really powerful way of kind of creating a bit of buzz around your profile and really kind of engaging with people, I guess, on your profile. Also have the added benefit of the more people comment and get involved with your profiles on these social platforms, the more they will see your posts in the future. So, the fact that your post is hitting the algorithms probably helps a little bit as well. But just adding a bit of debate and asking for a bit of debate from people can be a really powerful way of kind of breaking down those barriers and kind of interacting with people on another level. Just do be careful with that one, though, that you don't just kind of dive in head first and start getting in arguments on the internet, because you know what? Nobody ever wins in an argument on the internet. It's not really worth doing, really, let's be honest. But it is worth sometimes creating a little bit of debate and discussion so you can open yourself up to other people's points of view. Finally, there might be some other ways that you can actually have content that you could then share with people as well. So whilst the other stuff I've talked about in this lecture have been more kind of conceptual ideas about, how much personality or vulnerability or kind of discussion to create on your social posts, you might want to sort of open your mind up to other ideas of, could I do other stuff to create more content? Could I do stuff to link up with people to be able to kind of spread the stuff that we're doing further? And by this I mean things like, could there be any webinars that you could do? Could there be any events that you could hold if the world's in a place where you can do that? Could there be any what we call monkey's paws, so small little bits of work that you could get from something, or small sales, or small things that you can do to make people used to buying from you? Is there some of that sort of stuff that you could do to try and leverage some of the network that you have? Yes? Great. If not, well, maybe you could even team up with someone else to be able to do that same sort of thing. It's just sort of worth thinking about what you could possibly do within the social network to try and make sure that you're socially selling people things in a social way. And, if you do that, the key thing here being social, that can be an incredibly powerful tool.